G'day everyone, my name is Ricky T. Today is the 31st of January 2025 and welcome to today's pain party. On the 19th of January 2025, a caravan was discovered in the suburb of Dural in Sydney's northwest. Actually somewhat close to a place I used to live. Now, if you're wondering why this caravan has resulted in me creating this video, it's because this caravan was found to be packed full of explosives with anti-Semitic rhetoric written all inside the van, with plans to attack a local synagogue. Now, this van, before it was notified to police, was actually moved off the side of the road by a Dural local, who then subsequently opened the caravan and then discovered what was inside and very quickly called authorities. And here is what the New South Wales Commissioner Karen Webb had to say about this event.
Yesterday afternoon, there was extensive discussion, presser from Deputy Commissioner Hudson and the Premier about the identification, location of a caravan in Dural in January. In addition to the information that has been provided, and on the basis that it's now in the public domain, I can confirm that the registered owner of that caravan is a person that is in custody on unrelated matters. I don't want to speculate too much more, but it's important that the public understands that not only is the caravan been removed and the contents removed from the public, but also the owner is out of play and in custody. So the risk to the public has been mitigated very early on. The third point I want to make on that point is that whilst the explosive material was found in that caravan, there was no detonator with the caravan. I also want to make the point clear that in relation to the caravan and its contents and the people that are associated with that, we are taking it at its very highest. And what I mean by that is our investigation is looking at whether the caravan and its contents are acts in preparation for a terrorism event.
Now, to save on time, I'm not going to necessarily go through and break down every single one of these, but I can tell you that over the course of a month, we had multiple cars lit on fire, we had 2 synagogues lit on fire, and we also had, and this is really sad, a kids' preschool lit on fire. So after the last 3 minutes and a half or so, you may be sitting there wondering to yourself, why, after 2 days, am I actually making this video? And the reason why I'm making this video now is to, one, just make sure that people are aware of what's going on, because quite frankly, if you don't live nearby or you don't stick your nose into the news every 24 seconds, you're not going to see everything that comes by. And secondly, I need to point out the ripe incompetence of the Murdoch press in this regard. Now, the Murdoch press have a mole inside of the AFP. And when I say a mole inside the AFP, as you could imagine, when you're doing a potential terrorist investigation for something that's going to be a catastrophic attack on people, you're not going to publicize this to the entire nation. But what happened exactly? Well, a mole within the AFP leaked to the Murdoch press exactly what was happening, and then it was launched and released on the Daily Telegraph, one of the largest Murdoch publications in the country. Now, just think for a second, what exactly does that mean? Well, what that means is that the actions of one person within the AFP could have potentially caused the deaths of hundreds of people, if not thousands of people with this. And the reason I say that, and I've taken some time to formulate my argument, but the reason why I say this is because you don't publicize that you're looking for someone. Because if you do, then you're very much giving them the opportunity to move away or to change what they're doing. Can you imagine, for example, the van itself had been parked in that one spot for about 3 months. 3 months. is how long the locals had been seen it sitting there. Now, the AFP only became aware of it on the date mentioned before. If the AFP had have come out and stated, we are looking for the owners of this white van in this particular location we suspect is going to be a bombing, do you think that van would have stayed there? Do you think they would have changed suit? Do you think they may have gone somewhere else? Because that's exactly what would have happened. No one who's being hunted, who knows they're being hunted, is going to repeat the same actions they're currently doing. You're going to take preventative measures to make sure that you are not caught. Now, thanks to the Murdoch press, this very thing happened. And then the Murdoch press thought it was appropriate to go after the New South Wales Premier, looking for answers as to why it is the people weren't actually alerted of this sooner. And this is also brought to the forefront by Sky News, who had on one of the leaders of the Australian Jewish Association on the show, and even he claims that it was really dangerous, that they personally were not informed that this could potentially happen. But the reality is, if you can't trust someone within the federal police to keep information under wraps, how can you trust anyone within any organization? Remember, these are people who have signed privacy agreements. They have high-end security clearance. Now, the people in the Jewish community are not going to have that. They are not going to be under the same obligation to keep the information secret. If anything, the moment that information came out, it's going to spread. It would spread like wildfire, and every single person would understand and know exactly what's going on, and that would destroy the investigation that the AFP are doing. Which is entirely the point of this particular video. The Murdoch press has once again put us as individuals at risk of harm, be it financial, be it, in this particular case, physical, political harm through the manipulation that they do. This is something that could have been 1,000 times worse than it was. And as a result, they've arrested 2 people who owned the van. And I'm not going to name them, I'm not going to show their faces. I originally planned to show their faces, but I decided not to. Strictly because they haven't gone to trial or anything like that, and I know that the ABC leaked it, so you can go and look it up if you want to. I'm not going to be that guy. What I will say is that in this particular instance, the Daily Telegraph put all of our lives at risk. Everyone. And that is absolutely shameful. On the other hand, though, if it was anything else, I probably would be sitting here laughing about it. But no. I can't do that because there are too many innocent people who are not involved with any of this stuff that are going to be affected by this. Is there an issue with anti-Semitism in Australia at this very moment? Yes, there absolutely is. But where has that anti-Semitism stemmed from? It has stemmed from the Murdoch press completely misrepresenting what the Albanese government has actually put forward. On October 7, back when all of this stuff in Gaza kicked off, the government at the time condemned the actions of Hamas and the atrocities committed on October 7. And then, as Israel started to move forces into Gaza, our government did exactly the same thing to the atrocities being caused by the Israeli troops. So Australia took a very bipartisan stance on it, and then asked for a 2-state solution, thinking that a 2-state solution is the only feasible way that you can actually have peace within all of this. Now, I've got to be honest, I am not the person to make that decision. I am not the person to have the discussion about, is that right? Is that wrong? I'm not that guy. But what I will tell you is that the people that you're getting the news from are also not those people. But unlike me, they're going to tell you what to think every single time. And that in itself is fucking terrifying. So I implore and encourage all of you, whenever you see shit like this, look it up. Do the research. Don't just look at a standard newspaper like the Sun Herald or the Daily Telegraph or ABC News and think that that is the only thing going on. In Australia, 90% of our news and media comes from one source, which is Murdoch. There are only 3 decent sources in this country that you can look at. One is The Guardian, The other one is SBS News, and even then SBS is somewhat skewed. They do often put on some anti-West stories, so I'm not going to say that they're unbiased, but they're certainly more bipartisan than 7, 9, and 10. Then you have The Independent. The Independent Australia is probably the best paper you can read. Only because whenever there is a political bias on either side, it is very clearly stated on their website that it is a biased opinion, and that it in fact is opinion. Everything else is actually journalistic integrity, something you never ever see within the journalistic world today. So on that note, we're going to leave that video here. I've rambled at you enough. You don't need to hear me spout on anymore. But please, remember that your life was on the line when the police found that, and the Murdoch press threw you in front of the firing line. And that is something you cannot forgive. Anyway, guys, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit through this long video and my stupid rant at the end of it. We've probably gone for about 13, 14 minutes or so. I'm going to start doing a lot more of this content. I actually have quite a lot of fun making the content. I also would love it if you guys could come and, chill out with me on Twitch. I do have a Discord, which is in the description on the YouTube, so feel free to jump in there. I do like to discuss politics. I honestly don't think that there's any right and wrong side to politics. I think we all have to come together and come to that mutual consensus. At the moment, that mutual consensus is whatever Murdoch wants. And we have to push against that. We can't just sit here and pretend like it doesn't exist. Okay, guys? So please, take care of yourselves. Please be aware of everything happening around you as much as you can. And keep an eye out for anything that you think should be reported. And if you see something that needs to be reported, do it. Don't sit on it. Because you don't know what's going to happen. Anyway, guys, I really appreciate you. Thank you. Bye.